today we are moving into something called sample space. Now, earlier this week, or I guess yesterday, we talked about simple probability. So like, what's the probability of flipping a coin and getting tails? 1/2. A dice. If I roll a dice, what's the probability I roll a 5? 1 out of 6. So sample space goes into this because sample space talks about all that probable outcomes. So basically, it's like a list that lists all the probable outcomes. So like when I flip a coin, what are the 2 possible things I could get? Heads or tails. When I roll a die, what are the things I could get? A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Okay? So sample space is what describes that. So the sample space describes all of the possible outcomes of an event. And sample space can be displayed by a few different ways. So you can either display it with a list, a table, or a tree diagram. I kind of do like a combination of a list with a diagram. And I'll show you that. It'll make more sense to you. And then these diagrams determine the probability of simple or compound events. Okay, so let's just say that there's a football tournament, and it is Silver Creek, Borden, Henryville, and I don't know, West Central. Okay. All right, so what are the possible outcomes of this tournament? Silver Creek could win, Henryville could win, Borden could win, or Floyd Central could win. Those are the possible outcomes. Okay, so that's what sample space is. Sample space lists all the possible outcomes of an event. So right here, and I'm not into the logistics of it, I'm literally asking just for a basic answer here, so I don't care about what you think about it. The New England Patriots and the Dallas Cowboys are playing. What are the possible outcomes of the game? Like I just said about the tournament, 2 outcomes. Either the Patriots win or the Cowboys win. So that's the sample space. That's the sample space for that event. Just like we already talked about a number die, a number cube. When I roll a number cube, what are the possible things that I could get? A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. Those are a list of the sample spaces. Now, when we get into the actual sample spaces for a lot of other events, they're not just going to be one basic thing. So they're not just going to be like roll a die, flip a coin. They might be like roll a die, then flip a coin. Or flip a coin, roll a die, flip another coin. Like it's going to be things that are back to back to back. Okay, and we're going to have to talk about all the sample spaces, all the possible outcomes that there could be. All right, so moving into number 3 here, it says make a list or table. So like I'm going to show you my list, table, and tree diagram are kind of all in one. But it says, for breakfast, Jamie can choose from cereal, eggs, or a muffin. And she can also drink coffee, orange juice, or milk. What are all the possible outcomes and how many total outcomes are possible? So, first of all, she gets to pick her breakfast food. What are her options for breakfast food?
Cereal, eggs, or muffin.
All right, so we're going to write cereal, eggs, and a muffin. So those are her food choices. Now, once she picks out her food choice, then she gets to pick a drink. What are the possible drinks that she could pick? Coffee, orange juice, or milk. So if she picks cereal, she could pick coffee to drink. She could pick milk to drink, or she could pick orange juice to drink. But the same with the eggs. She can pick any of those 3 drinks as well. So eggs, she could also do coffee. She could also do milk. And she could also do orange juice. Or if she picks a muffin, She could also do coffee, milk, or orange juice. So here's her possible combinations. She could pick cereal with coffee. She could pick cereal with milk. She could pick cereal with orange juice. Or she could pick eggs with coffee, eggs with milk, eggs with orange juice, or muffin with coffee, muffin with milk, muffin with orange juice. Those are all the possible combinations that she could pick. How many possible combinations is that? Nope. Nope. 9. She could do cereal coffee, cereal milk, cereal OJ. That's 9 possible choices that she could make. 9 outcomes. Another way that you can figure out how many outcomes there's going to be is to multiply. How many breakfast choices does she have? 3. How many drink choices does she have? 3. And what's 3 times 3? 9. So she's going to have 9 possible combinations. All right, we'll do another one. We'll do a lot of them today. All right, so it says, at registration, a student can select from Spanish or German class, as well as art, music, or theater. What are all the possible outcomes and how many total outcomes are possible? So, what can they pick first, does it say?
Spanish or German?
Spanish or German, so that's what I'm going to list. Spanish or German? What? All right, and then after she picks her language class, then she gets to pick another elective class. And what electives could she pick?
Art, music,
Art, music, or theater. So art, music, or theater. I'm just going to abbreviate there. You can abbreviate too. If she picks German, she could also have the choice of picking art, music, or theater. So she could pick Spanish art, Spanish music, Spanish theater, or she could pick German art, German music, German theater. How many total combinations is that? 6. And I could also figure that out because there were 2 languages, 3 other electives, and 2 times 3 is 6. All right, number 5. A fair coin is tossed 3 times. That does not mean like a circus fair. A fair coin just means one side is a head, one side is a tail. Because they do have trick coins that are 2-headed or 2-tailed. So a fair coin just means 1 head, 1 tail. Okay, so they're going to flip it 3 times. What are all the possible outcomes and how many total outcomes are possible? So you ready? Let's flip 1 coin. What could I get? Heads or tails. And I'm going to make a tree diagram on this, like a true tree diagram. Okay, I pick up the second coin. I flip the second coin. What could I get? Heads or tails. So I could have got heads on the first one, and then heads or tail on the second one. Or I could have gotten tails the first time, and then heads the second time, or tails again. All right, now I'm going to flip my third coin. What are my answer choices for my third coin flip? Heads or tails again. So I could have gotten heads, and then heads or tails. I could have gotten head, or tail. I could have gotten tail, head or tail. Tail, head or tail. So all my answer choices are here flipping the three coins. I could get head, tail. I could get head, tail, tail. I could have gotten tail, head, or tail, tail. Tail, head, or tail, tail. Those are all the possible outcomes that I could have got from flipping it 3 times. How many outcomes is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. 8 outcomes. Here's my next question. What are the 2 options on a coin? Heads or tails. So it would have been 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So 8 possible outcomes. All right, let's do another one. All right, on the back, it says Amanda will roll a number cube and flip a coin. If Amanda rolls a number cube one time and flips the coin one time, then what are the possible outcomes in which the number cube lands on an odd number? Okay, so I roll a dice. What could I get? I could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everybody agree? Okay. Then it says I'm going to flip a coin. When I flip a coin, what could I get? Heads or tails. So I could roll a 1 and then get a head or a tail. Or I could roll a 2 and get a head or a tail when I flip the coin. Or it could have been a 3 and then a head or a tail. Or it could have been a 4, a head or a tail. Could have been a 5, head or a tail. And it could have been a 6, head or a tail. Now, those are all the possible outcomes, but they put something specific in here. Does anybody know what the specific of the question was? Amanda? Lands on an odd number. So which one of these numbers on the number cube is odd?
1, 3, and 5.
So 1, 3, and 5. So I really only need 1, 3, and 5 up here. Because they wanted an odd number. So 1, 3, and 5. How many outcomes is that? The odd number. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 outcomes. Now, I could have gotten, when I rolled that dice and flipped that coin, I could have gotten 1 and then heads, 1 and then tails, 3 and then heads, 3 and then tails, 5 and then heads, and 5 and then tails. All right, I'm going to let you all try number 7. So it says the 2 spinners below are spun at the same time. What are the possible outcomes of the 2 spins? So look at the first spinner, see what your 2 outcomes are, and then look at what your outcome of the second spinner is. You need to try or you're never going to learn if you just sit there like this. That's how literally Alabama crowd some of you all are. If you're not trying, you've got to. You're never going to learn anything.